Grace Evelyn Donahue was born on July 29, 1937 in Jamaica Plain to George and Jane Welshland in a German neighborhood when the nation was on the brink of World War II. She recalls a Sunday afternoon when she was 4. She was in the kitchen with her mother when they found out a bomb had been dropped on Hawaii. Pearl Harbor had been bombed and her childhood was changed forever. Living in a German neighborhood during a war against Germany, life was strained. People were sent to her neighborhood to keep a watchful eye, and the German culture was forced into silence. However, the war didn't just change for German citizens. The whole country was shifting into a wartime lifestyle. School children were taught duck and cover drills, daily life was interrupted by practice air raids, and ration stamps were given out to families. At school, Grace made Red Cross boxes with supplies for soldiers and sailors fighting in the war. She also bought war stamps to put in her booklet to fight overseas. At this time, common household items were in short supply, so Grace and her family had to make the best of the few things they had. She can remember the Christmases without lights her family had during the war. String lights were banned at the time, so the family had to be creative, decorating the tree with strings of walnuts, cranberries, and popcorn. Food sources were also limited, so Grace's family once again had to be creative and make the best of what they had. Her family dined on Waldorf salads, Spam, and chipped beef, and for dessert they had Jell-O. The family once again made the best out of the very little they had to live their lives as normally as possible. Grace was lucky. She had no family members fighting in World War II, but she still couldn't escape the grief that surrounded this era. She can remember the flags that hung in the homes of those who were in the service, the black flag signaling that the family was home to a soldier that had died in the war. Wakes were held for the soldiers in the families' homes for a few days, and people would pass through to give their condolences. Children, Grace added, would visit these homes during the wakes to get free cookies. The war ended in 1945, and the remainder of Grace's childhood was fairly calm. She attended an all-girls Catholic high school and would regularly attend the dances, then known as the Hop. However, Grace didn't attend her most memorable dance until her college years, attending Boston State Teachers College. It was the St. Patrick's Day dance, her favorite holiday. While she was there, a young man named Joe Donahue asked her to dance. This same man Grace would marry in 1962. After a few years of being married and teaching, Grace left her job of 3 years to start a family. As a woman in that day, she could not teach while being pregnant. It wasn't until after her 4th child was born that Grace decided to return to teaching at the Agassiz Runkle School in Brookline. In 1974, only a few years after Grace returned to teaching, Judge Garrity ordered for all Boston public schools to desegregate. It was a time of confusion and frustration and mass resistance. People reacted in a multitude of ways. Some white families fled to suburban towns, while others boycotted the school system. Not wanting her 4 young children to be separated in schools across the city, Grace sent her children to Our Lady Our Lord School, a private but integrated private school. Grace made the most of the turmoil that surrounded the busing. Her own school was paired with the schools in West Roxbury and housing projects in Jamaica Plain. Before even being able to teach during this period, Grace participated in workshops on conflict resolution and other forms of training. There were also programs put in place to develop better relationships and cooperation between students and staff, theater and art projects being the most popular. Despite the controversy that surrounded the Boston busing, Grace never gave up trying to make each and one of her students feel welcome and provide them with the education they all deserved. Everyone suffers through hard times during their life, but the adversities are not what defines a person, it is how a person deals with these difficulties. Grace chose to make the hardest periods in her life and make the best of them, for herself and for those around her. Grace gave off a brightness even in the darkest of times, and for this positive impact on our world, she will always be remembered.